Hello class, this is Panos. Today we're going to go through another screencast and we're going to see how we can use Java to read some numbers from the keyboard, 3 of them in particular, and then do some basic operations with them. In particular, we want to find their sum and then their average. So let's start. So first of all, we need to open up our terminal and we need to create a new directory where we're going to store our source code. Let's call this sum avg. There's nothing in there since we're just going to create it, of course. The cd, of course, we need to get in first. And then we can use gedit and we give the name of the new file sum and avg.java, and then we can use the ampersand symbol so that we can open the editor on the background and still be able to use the terminal. So now we'll start by writing some comments. So these comments do not really change the functionality of the program at all. They're simply there to help us explain what this program is supposed to be doing. So it's a program that reads 3 integers from the keyboard. So we want this there. This is when you open up this file in the future so that you know what happens. So after we read these 3 integers, then we want to calculate and print their sum and average. So we note this down so that we can remember, and for other people too. Remember, you're not programming just for yourself here. So now we start with the usual stuff that we've been writing in our Java programs, public class, and then we give the class name. And remember, this is the same as the file name without the .java. And we also need the entry point, which is the main function. So public static void main, and then in parentheses string brackets args, and after the curly braces we start typing our code. So again, I'm gonna use some comments here so that we understand what we're doing. And initially we simply want to read 3 numbers, so we type this down, numbers. If we're, well, integers probably better since numbers might be ambiguous. So let's fix it to integers. So we want at this point a message to be printed to the user. They won't know what they're expecting them to do. So we say type an integer and press enter. It's exactly the thing that they need to do. It's good instructions. Then, as you remember from the course on Monday, from the class on Monday, we need to have this scanner class, which is used to help us read from the keyboard. So we're creating this new scanner object, and we're saying that you should be reading from system.in, which is the keyboard. Remember, this is a convention. System.in is the keyboard, system.out is a screen. We're going to need a variable. This is int. Integer variable, so we use a keyword int, and then we call this n1, and then we say sc dot next int. This is going to give us the next integer from the keyboard. Now we can copy this and paste it 2 more times. So this is a trick that we're doing quite usual in computer science. Keep that in mind. So type a second integer, but you should also keep in mind that whenever we're doing copy pastes, and then 2 of course here, we're quite prone to making mistakes. So be very careful when you're doing copy pastes. So type a 3rd integer here, and we change n1 to n3 too. So now we have these 3 variables, n1, n2, and 3, and they've already been read in the keyboard. So the next thing that we need to do is to do our calculations. We start another comment and we type down calculate sum and average, since this is what we plan doing. And now for the actual computation, we can use, we want to store these results in some new variables. So we're going to create another int variable, sum, and we're going to place the addition of those 3. So it's n1 plus n2 plus n3, and we finish this line with a semicolon. And then for the average, we don't want to use int, we want to use a floating point. So we use double because it's a decimal. You know, the average between 1 and 2, for example, is 1.5. It's not necessarily an integer. So it's the sum divided by 3. So another comment at this point, and we're simply going to say that we're going to display the results. So display results. And now we're ready to use the commands that we already know. So system.out.println, and we can say sum is, that's a string, and we concatenate in the end the actual number, so plus sum. And afterwards we can copy this line, and we're doing something similar for the average. So we'll say average is, and we remove sum, and we place our average AVG variable. Okay, so at this point we're ready. Let's switch back to our terminal and see what happens. So first of all, we need to compile. So that this is javac, and we give the Java file name, and we wait, and no, it didn't work. So we have a bunch of errors. Okay, that's expected. You should generally expect that whatever you're writing doesn't work at this immediately. So look, it says here error cannot find symbol scanner. So it's looking for that scanner class, and it cannot find it. We need to import it. So that's import java.util.scanner. Remember, this is a JCL class, a Java class library written by the Java developers themselves, the people who develop Java. So let's try now. We still have errors. So it says that the SC variable is already defined. So, and that problem happened in line 20. So remember that copy paste that we did before? Well, we copied actually the definition of the SC variable multiple times, and this creates this problem. It's as if we have this variable again and again multiple times. So what we need is define it only once, so scanner SC once, and the other times we just use it, SC. There is no further need to do anything else on that. And now we can compile our program again, and we can see that we have bytecode created. So now we can run it. So we have to type an integer, let's say 1, 2, and 3. So sum is 6, average is 2. Well, it seems that we did a great job and everything works fine, and we're probably ready. But let's run it once again and try a little bit of a different number. So 1, 2, and 4 this time. So look what happened. Sum is 7, but the average is still 2. It should have been a little bit more. It should have been 2.33 something. And this is an error. So this is a logic error that we've made here, and it's a subtle error that's not easy to pick. So the problem is this division over here. Sum is an integer, and the number 3 itself is an integer. And whenever you divide integer by integer, well, you get an integer as a result. It automatically does floor. It takes the lower bound. So we use this double cast in front of the command, and that explicitly says that, look, we need to make this a double. It's not just an int. So let's try it again, and now you can see that it works. So it's 2.3333 something. That's one way. There's another way you can do this, is by simply saying instead of 3.0, for example, because now you are explicitly saying that this is not an integer, but it's actually a floating point number, a decimal. So if we repeat this, 1, 2, and 4, we can see that the average is 2.333. So it works. Another way of solving this problem. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in class.